Right, we seem to have an excellent connection. It says I'm now live. It seems to be showing the screen. And I'm getting messages on Facebook to say they're not getting it. So I'm not sure whether people are seeing this live or whether there's an issue on Facebook. So let's see. Still can't see it. Did you check the new link? Right, I've got one lady who's live with me on Facebook, which is really helpful, and she's kind of let me know whether things are live or not. So I'm just going to let her know if she can check the new link. You check the new link to see if it works. Let's see. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we can get some people in the chat room. We can get some art going, because that's the reason why we're here, to be honest with you. So I'm clicking buttons as I'm talking, looking at 3 or 4 different screens. The skills of multitasking are just gone off the charts. Whilst I kind of sit and chat, I can catch up where I kind of left off. Yeah, talking about skills and where you are with your artwork and what you want to do. Now, I might draw in a particular way and a particular style, but it doesn't mean to say I'm expecting people to draw like I do. I want you to do and draw your art the way you create it. Some of the techniques I will use are transferable into different art genres. So if you're an abstract expressionist, if you're an impressionist, a hyperrealist, there are elements to all drawing which are kind of the same, and hopefully what will happen is there'll be a crossover to different styles that you'll start to make a relationship with the information technical wise, and you'll start to be able to answer some of the questions and problems you'll find in your work. It's got another message there on Facebook, so it's pinging away. Still can't get it, sorry. It's a bit of a shame, because I was really hoping that this would work, and I can't understand for the life of me why it's not working, because when I click onto YouTube separately, it all seems to be working fine. So I don't know what I'm doing different. It could be that I'm just sending this out to myself, I don't know, but it says that I'm live now. When I click on it, it's popping up, it says Lee Boyd, so I've got 3 people watching now, so yes, it must be live to somebody, because it can't be just me watching myself 3 times over. If you are live and you can see the chat bar on the right hand side, can you just say hello? So I know that people are there, and then we can get on with the art demo and the art chat. There's 4 people watching now, so it's obviously working. People are actually starting to click onto the link. I'm going to copy and paste this link one more time to Facebook, and hopefully that'll answer the questions. This link. This link works. There we are. This link works, because it definitely works, because there's 4 people watching. Sometimes I know it's down to the settings on people's devices that they're watching, and it can literally be that stops people from watching a YouTube video. There's nothing adult in the content of this, but I haven't really specified it for children. It's not to say kids can't watch this, but you might find some of the things I'm explaining might be, I don't want to say it's too complex, because kids are really adept at information. But I initially set up for teaching adults, but kids can watch this as well. I will go back over and just reiterate something that I was saying earlier. The only affiliation that I've got on the page is to Amazon. If there's any links to any products that I use, like rubbers and pencils and bits and pieces like that, I'll put a link up to them. It's not to say that you have to use those links. You can go off and obviously shop elsewhere, and I kind of encourage people, if you've got a local art shop in the areas, to see if you can buy from them. wherever you are to support the local business. Sometimes those local businesses also have shops on Amazon, so it can give you an awful lot of information regarding the products and things, and can let you shop around that way. But it's more of an information device. Some of the things I use, I don't know where you are based in the world. You might not be able to get hold of them in your location. So the next best thing would be something like Amazon. So that's the reason why I use it. But I just want to be totally clear and upfront. The way it works is I put a link up and I get a small percentage back from a sale. Now you don't pay anything extra, you pay exactly the same if you've found it by yourself. It's just like an affiliate scheme. But so I wanted to be clear with that one. Somebody's typing on the page now that hopefully this is working. So I'm going to click back over to the other screen that I've got up at the moment. As I say, carrying 3 or 4 different there we go. I've got Leslie. Thank you, Leslie. Hi, you're here. Well, that kind of reassures me that this works. So it means I can carry on with the drawing a little bit more longer. Normally I'll do this for about 2 hours. I am going to carry on a little bit longer because obviously we've missed nearly a half an hour of me faffing around trying to get everybody connected. And for those of you who have been watching Facebook over the last 15 weeks know that I always have coffee in my hand, and each week I have a different coffee cup. This is one that we found in the cupboard. It's actually a lovely teacup, but I put coffee in it. I bought it for Andrea a couple of Christmases ago. It was made by a local potter called Donald Nelson. So I don't know if you can see that. If I just hold it up, how beautiful that's made. It's made in terracotta, white slip, and he's got a lovely illustration of a lovely raven on it. So yeah, if you can support your local arts and crafts people, they make mugs as well. Perfect for your coffee. I'm not getting anything, there's no kickback for that. It's just me saying, have a look out there, see what arts and crafts are around, and try and support them if you can. But I'm going to take this little slip because that was exhausting trying to get this going this morning. I think next time I do this it'll be a little bit easier because this is like all the different programs that you use kind of remember the information, so I'm not going to have to retype it back in 20 times. So yeah, hopefully that'll be really cool. So Leslie, I'm so pleased you're here because you kind of reassured me that this isn't all in vain and I haven't lost it completely. This normally builds over the next few weeks. More and more people will be able to join in, find me on Facebook and then get the links that way, or find me on Instagram, get the links that way, and YouTube, blah blah blah, and hopefully we'll all come together. The drawing that I have up this morning, which I'll just show you, my drawing cam, will also highlight what else I'll be drawing today. Over the last few weeks, oh bless, I see I've got one person trying to get in and I don't know whether this works. Right, if I copy and paste that. 2 more comments. Sorry Lee, once again. But the link you're talking about, there's nothing that's appeared. Got you now, hurrah! Desiree, you're there. Perfect. Okay, so that's reassuring. So Desiree, thank you so much, because as you were typing it's not working, it made me kind of check other settings, so perfect. Angela, good morning. Oh, this works. Can't tell you how excited I am. So yeah, I want to get on with the actual demo itself because that's why we're here. So coffee cups done, internet issues sorted out, and now I can get on with the drawing. I don't know if you all caught, I will be doing videos on this channel. I'll be making content specifically for it. After this is finished, if you click on the page, there's a discussion section, and you can. I've asked a general question about what problems you're having with your artwork, what things you would like to see, and I can make specific videos for them. It's not to say we won't talk about them in the live art chats, we probably will, but I might be able to make a video, because if you're having an issue with something or a problem with something, other people will probably be having the same problem, and it might be a way of sort of answering it for a lot of other people. So everybody comes to art from different directions for different reasons, and we hit different plateaus at different stages, and we hit sort of walls where we just don't know how to do something, or we're having problems with it, and it creates a bit of a fear. Like for example, I don't know how to make something really dark, or I don't know how to shade in, so I'm gonna kind of leave that aside, and people avoid the problem, which is unfortunate because learning how to get through that problem can actually improve your work for you. You can actually then start creating the works that you really, really want to create, rather than kind of avoiding the obstacles and kind of coming up with something which is good, but not really what you wanted. And I want to get you to the stage if you've been able to create the artwork that you really, really want to. Arson, Michael is watching. Good morning. This is so nice. It does kind of remind me of Facebook. It's taken an age to get sorted out for YouTube. Apologies. But yeah, hopefully I won't have any more problems. So I have different cameras on screen, like we've had on Facebook. We've got a drawing cam, which means you'll be able to see the screen a little bit better, and a materials cam, so you know what I'm drawing. I put a screenshot up of the actual thing that we're drawing on the day. I'm going to flip over to one of those now. Flip over to the drawing cam, because over the last few weeks I've been asking people to send in portraits of themselves, a selfie, because I want to create a piece of artwork to kind of bring together the experience of doing these live broadcasts, but also to kind of memorise this period of time in lockdown, in COVID. And the reason why this all happened was because the art classes were cancelled. So I've asked people to send in their selfie pictures, which you can send to me on Facebook. Facebook is Lee Boyd Artist, and you just send me a message and just send me the selfie. If you've been watching this and you enjoy the content, you can send me a selfie, and I'm going to recreate I'm going to create an artwork based on everybody's portraits. So I'm going to start one of those today. Also, there is a subscribe button. I know you hear this an awful lot on YouTube videos, but the easiest way to find out when this is on, if you hit the subscribe button, it will actually tell you when I'm live, and so if you get a notification to your phone, you just hit that and it will pop up. So it should be an easier way of doing it. So if you press the subscribe button, you will actually get a link to when I broadcast something or when I upload a video. So that said, drawing cam. So as you can see, this isn't the portrait that we're going to be drawing. This is the Manimal drawing that I'm currently working on. But I just wanted to kind of show you what I've been doing over the last week or two. I've been doing live broadcasts over on a platform called Twitch. I've not really publicised it that much because it is literally me just drawing for hours and chatting occasionally with people who drop in. It's not as formal as this. This is more of the tutorial side of it, where we can have the conversation and you can ask me direct questions about your artwork. Hopefully you're all still drawing. Hopefully you're all still here. If you are drawing anything, let me know what it is. Use the chat bar on the side. I think when the community starts working and you start chatting an awful lot, it really builds momentum. I've noticed over on Twitch, it's more of a gaming platform where people will sort of live stream their gameplay and things like that, but there is an art section to it. So if you're interested, click on it, and there is an art box. When you initially open it up, it's loads of people playing different computer video games, which is not a bad thing. But there's a section down below where you can click art, and it'll take you to people live streaming their artwork. And there's all sorts, from digital art, there are painters on there, there are people who draw like I do, there's people who body paint. There's a whole raft of different things going on, and from all around the world, so all different times of the day and night, there's something being live streamed to it. Interesting, but it's chaotic, and it's got its own little language with emotes and stuff. So this is much more genteel for somebody like me. But I've been using Twitch. I've been kind of enjoying it. So I've been doing those as well, and this is what I've been doing on Twitch. So I just wanted to show you where we're at with it. This is a range of Manimal drawings. It's done in graphite, animal heads on people, and it's slowly building up all the layers of graphite, and it kind of shows you through all the different processes of creating an artwork that we've been talking about over the last 15 weeks. Anything I've mentioned during the live draw classes that we've been doing, it's what I've been doing on this. So I actually do what I teach. I don't kind of stick to a philosophy that I don't adopt myself. Okay, I'm going to take this down, and as you can see, we have the lovely Kathy, one of our students in the Arts Centre, who comes to one of the classes, and I thought it would be really interesting to start one of the portraits now. I've got a couple that have come in already, so next week possibly do another one. I've got another idea for another Manimal drawing that I'd like to maybe start as well. But you can let me know. Are you interested in watching this process of portraits, or are you happy enough for me to change it around? But yeah, use the chat bar on the right hand side and let me know. You're all still there, aren't you? I just want to make sure everybody's still alive. The other issue I've got is one of my cameras decides to go to sleep occasionally. So this little video feed in the... hang on, let me point out for you which way I am. Is it that way? Right, top right hand corner. That little video will switch off occasionally. Don't panic, I haven't disappeared. I will bring it back. It's just that there's a timer on the camera and it switches itself off. So I've got Kathy, and very similar to a lot of you're still here. Oh, Desiree. Yay! So, you can see Kathy, and if you sent your picture to me, you will be a part of this artwork. You don't have to be if you don't want to be. It's kind of it's an open thing. But if you do want to get involved, go over to my Lee Boyd Artist Facebook page. I think there's a link in the description below when you click on the information later. You can send me a message, just put a selfie in there, one that you're happy with, and that'll become part of the artwork. If you're happy with that, we'll get done with it. Angela's clapping. Great. Inside I'm clapping too. I'm going to take a quick swill of coffee just to clear my brain. We'll get cracking. So how have you all been this week? Good? Most of the portraits that will come in will probably be portraiture, but you don't have to. You can spin your camera around and take a little landscape view if you want. I can patchwork them in. I think patchwork faces would be lovely. We did the Sky Portrait Artist of the Week, and at the end of 9 weeks, everybody was posting up their patchwork of portraits that they'd created, and they were great, and they all kind of fitted in the lovely, perfect square format of Instagram. Obviously, this is a portrait size, and lots of portraits involved. But yeah, I just thought it'd be kind of nice to get everybody in there. I'm just going to kind of readjust this camera a little bit, because where I'm going to start Kathy's picture is up a little bit. I'm not going to start it right at the very edges. I'm going to come in a little bit. It gives me flexibility in where I place people. If things move around, it also gives me, if this gets framed at any stage, it gives me space on the side of the picture to mount it properly, so I'm not kind of panicking about going off the edge or moving things around. And to start off very quickly, you can see I'm using a different pencil. I'm using one of my propelling pencils. I would normally start off using a normal fine pencil. This is an H lead that I've got in a propelling pencil, but because we're working on a smaller scale, I kind of know already from doing very, very small portraits, because each portrait is only going to be about 10 or 15 centimeters tall, which isn't a lot of space, because I want to fit lots of people in. I could sharpen my pencil down to this point, but for efficiency, if you've got a tool that's already sharp and as hard as you need it, it's great, because you can just click it and it'll continue to be that sharpened. So I'm not going to worry about sort of scale too much. I'm going to give myself a little brief box and of the same dimensions as my reference, which you can see on screen. I think I've got another one queued up. I think Alex is next. But if you sent me a picture, don't worry, it will be up there and you'll be in it. It could be that this goes on and on and on and on, and I have several pages filled with people. That would be awesome. So don't think, oh well, if I get down here and I've done the last one, then there's no more space. It could be that I just create a new sheet and there could be several panels of people. Be nice to kind of show it at some stage. I know already some of the museums have been talking about or finding out from people what they've been doing during COVID. In a way, I think as a part of history, certainly, how COVID has affected people and what it's meant to them individually and what's happened to them, because everybody's story is going to be unique. So for live social history, I think it's good for museums and exhibition centres or places to kind of highlight that. So at some stage there might be an exhibition of artwork that calls for artwork you did during COVID, and I think this would be a great shoe-in for it. Not to say that it's going to get into any exhibitions, but I always kind of like have an idea about artwork and where I could see it when I'm creating it, and how people can view it, and who's going to view it, and what can they take from it. So all of these things have kind of a relevance when you're building up an idea or a concept for a piece of work. You can sometimes think about the end line. I've now got a cat in the studio. This isn't Inky, by the way. Inky is coming next week, and next Saturday I will show Inky off. But I've got Sophie. I don't know if you can hear, she's meowing at me. She wants food. I've done a kind of a similar style box, to maybe a little bit longer, to the proportions of what's on the reference picture. I'm not going to worry that it's not perfect right now, because I am literally going to block in the space. Let's see if I got that picture up on my page. I did have. I have my reference set up beside me on the right hand side. I've been kind of using the actual monitor screen as well, so it's kind of like looking backwards and forwards. Maybe that will work for now. Marking out in that space, I'm more looking at the negative space, to be honest with you right now, just initially, about how far things are away. So you see where a hair comes out on the left hand side, they create like a diagonal line that way. I can see whereabouts on that length that diagonal line comes to, and I think it needs to go up a little bit, and it's a bit sort of a spot the difference, guessing so your best appropriation of where shapes are, and nothing is nailed down at this point. I can move things around, it's very, very flexible. I'm drawing really lightly. I'm allowing myself just to find the form of the shape, and I can do that by just general angles of things. So angles of the top of the head, or like we looked at there, that hair at the back, because it feeds into that little bit of jaw that comes down that way, and then from the jaw we have a bit of shoulder and neck that comes out, and it goes back down this way for the shoulder. I get a little bit of where the neck of her top is, and I can see where the neck of her top is on the other side in relationship to this edge. So if you relate elements rather than to itself, because you get one thing wrong, you're trying to relate something else to it, you can also relate it to something that's constant, and the edge of the page or the corner of the page is a constant. If you're relating back something that is, say you've put the corner of the hair here, and for example, I've put that right in line, but I know that it's a slight angle, so one of the things has to happen. This line has to move out that way, or this has to move in this way, and I think this has to come out a little bit, just a wee tad, or maybe this comes in just a wee tad here. So these 2 points in, so I'm moving this to there, that way, and moving this that way, because the angle from there to there, or the line, basically the imaginary line going from the back of her hair to the top of her shoulder, where the top of the neckline is on her top, is about there. Goes off at a slight angle, it's not straight down. As you draw more and start to use your eyes more, you'll find this becomes easier. You're not worrying about it so much, you're not worried about mistakes, you can draw quite lightly and quite efficiently. And I think when you look at a lot of impressionistic sketches, especially, that kind of loose approach is a kind of finely tuned adaptation of this. They're not looking for specific detail, they're looking for blocks and shapes and textures and the kind of the essence of the thing, but not every fibre and stitch of a top. They'll just create the texture of it. So they kind of simplify what they're seeing down using sort of the analogy. If like, you hear an awful lot about people, if you half close your eyes and look at something, you get told to do that an awful lot in art class, but it's not exactly why you are doing it. And you kind of go, oh yeah, and they go, can you just do that? Can you see this bit? And they'll explain one element of this picture. So they'll half close your eyes, look at the hair. Can you see the blackness of her hair? And you go, yeah. You just see the blackness of her hair, and you'd never use that technique again. Basically, the reason why you are half closing your eyes, you're simplifying the information of the picture down to its core point. So when you half close your eyes and you look at your resource picture, as I'm doing now, it's not that I'm tired. I'm looking at the picture on the screen. It gives me the strong, bold parts of that image. So I'll get the basic shape, and that's all I can see. I'm not looking at detail. The detail is kind of removed from me, but I'm starting to see when I look at where this part of her neck meets her face, going across her face, it goes up at an angle, like before I get to the other shoulder, but her other shoulder doesn't go up and follow the same line, it actually comes down. So subconsciously we might think, oh, shoulders are straight, and if they're aligned they must go, if I put this one down, this one goes up. But we're also looking at Kathy's portrait from above, and we're looking down. So she's got her shoulders level. She's not actually doing that. Pictorially it does, but she's not actually standing there taking a selfie that way. She's stood quite naturally and holding it up. And because she's turned at an angle and she's looking down from this point of view, where we would assume shoulders is always straight because they pivot with each other, and if we draw one angle this way, if we assume that the angle comes out the top, we will alter what we're actually trying to draw. Our subconscious will put things in that aren't there. This often happens when we assume what things look like when we can't see them. So if you're looking at a portrait, for example, or anything in a pictorial form that you're trying to draw and you can't quite see it because there's not enough information, say for example it's several trees stood together but you can't quite see the tree in the background because it's in shadow, you can't really draw it in. You have to give an impression of it. So it might be just the simple outline shape and the shadow of it. You can't start drawing the bark on it. So you might have enjoyed drawing the bark on the tree that's closest to you because that's one you can see and that's the one that's got the most light. And you'll put lots of detail, etc. on that, and then you'll get really excited and you want to put it on absolutely every tree. The thing is, you can't see it on absolutely every tree. It's the same thing when you're doing portraits. You might see something and you go, well, her ear is there, but I can't see it because there's a part of hair that goes over it and it's in shadow on her face, so I kind of need to map it in where it is. So I'm going to draw the ear, and it can throw you completely because the ear will start to stand out because you can see an ear in a place where you shouldn't quite see it. Does that make sense? Let me know if that does. Keep typing, by the way. Hopefully it's easier for you to type on here. I don't know. But where was I going? So yes, shoulders. As this goes up, this one comes down, and how far it comes out is almost in line. Creates this kind of triangular effect. If you go from the top of her head, where her hair is, you can kind of follow that line down, and you actually get her shoulder and top of her arm are humorous, basically, and that then allows me to find the space where this neckline is. It comes in that way. I put an initial mark here. Look, there's that camera gone off again. Bear with us one second, let's switch it on. Technical issues, eh? What can you do? I will find a way eventually. They'll probably change all of the formats as soon as I figure out how to do it. It'll switch itself off. Facebook will change and there'll be a whole new bunch of other settings, or YouTube will change, there'll be a whole new other settings that you've got to learn which aren't applicable. It's an ongoing process. But it's funny thing is, I know I'm not the only one because I've been watching an awful lot of these YouTube videos over the last 15 weeks because of COVID, and nearly everybody who's done a live online broadcast, the first thing everybody talks about is the problems that they're having. So listen, I apologise. It'll get slicker and it'll get a lot easier. As you can see, I've got that lovely picture of my camera software, which will disappear and might be replaced hopefully very soon with my face. There. Okay, get rid of the screens because it's covering Kathy's face. There we are. So at any moment now, it should pop back up for you. So I'm looking at this little bit here. I initially put a little suggestive mark of where her face was. It's not there. It's her part of her cheek is actually here, and it allows me to kind of start to see that where I had this initial line as a suggested mark from the back of her hair to where the shoulder met her neck isn't her face here. That's just the hairline. Overall it suggests a line here, but this is actually a little bit straighter, and that does two things. It'll narrow the face in a little bit because this line is also coming out at part of an angle that way, and this is literally just mapping in the drawing. I can give myself a kind of central line of where her face is, the axis of her head. The axis of Kathy's head, you can see on the screen, is going off in that direction. So I could put that axis in, but I want to make sure that I'm not going to just put it in anywhere and I kind of then try and move everything around. I want to give it a shape like I've done here with the overall format of the portrait itself. I want to find the format of that head. So I want to find the shapes of it first and find that I've got it in kind of the right location before I start going into any detail. You know, it's too easy to kind of jump on board and jump into lots and lots of detail into a picture because we want to get stuck into the cherry of doing the juicy bits like the eye and things like that. You will get there, but at the moment you need to know whereabouts to place the eyes, and there's no point just randomly drawing an eye in the face and it's suddenly finding out it's a great looking eye but it's not in the right place, and you'll be unwilling to move it. But I've said many times, if it's in the wrong place you will have to move it. And I think I always kind of start every drawing off as a sketch idea. I kind of research my drawings an awful lot, but I always start my drawings off as a kind of very loose sketch approach, just to help build my confidence and allow me to know where things are, so I get reassured. If I have a texture in a picture that I'm not too sure about how to do it, I'll experiment off page on another piece of paper until I find the texture and start to know how to recreate it. That's when I can apply it to the artwork. I think often we pressurize ourselves into rushing too much and trying to experiment on the page itself, so we've got that little bit of hesitancy and going, oh, I don't want to muck this up, and then if it's successful we won't want to change it. But if we've placed the information in the wrong place, there's an unwillingness to kind of go, do you know what, it's just wrong. It's not in the right place. It's not in the right place for you, the artist. It's okay to turn over the page and recreate it again, because each process, each stage is getting you there to the artwork that you actually want, rather than kind of going, oh, it'll do, it'll be alright. Oh, I don't want to ruin it. I just leave it where it is. I'm okay with that one. You can do that if you've kind of learnt enough from your drawing and you're taking it on a holistic view, that all of these drawings are getting you to just develop your skill level, that you can turn over and start a new page, start a new drawing, but take the information that you've learned from that previous drawing into the new one. Because I see often people just, well, that was that picture, everything I learnt was that picture, and this is a brand new one, and they'll kind of repeat the same mistakes all over again. I always keep my drawings, no matter if they're good or bad, because they help me reflect on where I am with my artwork. It helps me reflect on what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, any developments in my work, anything that's successful, because you have to acknowledge those things as well. Anything that is really working in your artwork and how that's gonna move on with you to the next drawing. Challenges that I've had, I may go off and then do further research. I think the other week we were talking about different art books. We were working from the Figure Drawing Atelier book by Juliet Aristides because we were doing one of the drawing exercises in the back of the book. Awesome book. And then we were chatting about art books, and if I just grab it off the shelf, bear with me 2 seconds. Again, this is not wholly professional, me disappearing out of camera shot. Certainly wouldn't happen on Sky Portrait Artist of the Week or TV. You just see people disappearing. You were chatting about art books and stuff, and somebody mentioned this one to me. It was the Lessons in Masterful Portrait Drawing, and I mentioned it, and I got it for a Father's Day gift, and it's awesome. It's lovely. Look, just to prove. So don't make things up, by the way. This is actually true. So I got this drawing book and I started to look at how this guy was using charcoal in a format which is lovely and loose and expressive, and it's kind of inspired me to experiment with some of my drawings along those lines. So even now, as a professional artist with a knowledge of art to a certain level, I don't know everything. I'll be the first person to hold my hands up. I'm still keenly interested to develop my work, and I know when I go to do a charcoal drawing along those lines, it won't be as successful as that artist's work, because that's the way he works. But what I do is pick out elements that work for me, and areas that I need to develop, I'll start to put in to practice. I'll start to try them out. I'll go off and do the research. I'll look back at the book. I'll go back to other books and pick out where I'm not quite getting there. What is it I need to do? That's quite difficult to do by yourself, and I understand that, but that's why this was created. So it's really important that if you are struggling with something, I can know the kind of fear of going, I'm not very good at this and I don't know how to do it, because you feel very vulnerable when you ask that question, whether people are going to judge you, whether you're just not very good, or you're not very smart because you don't know. Everybody's in the same boat. If you're asking a question, there will be plenty of other people wanting to ask the same question. So be brave and share the information, and I'll be able to answer it for you, because there's no point sitting there struggling with something when you can find out the answers to it. And if I don't have the answers to it, and this is what I love about being a tutor, sometimes I don't have the answers to it, and it makes me go off and find the answers to come back and give you the answers and share the information. But in that process, your learning is my learning, and that's how I develop as I found very important to my own art practice, is through teaching I learn an awful lot, because I reflect on myself about what I do and how I do it, and I want to kind of develop my own skills, and I think in being honest with myself and how my art practice isn't refined enough in certain areas to where I want it to be. It doesn't mean to say I'm bad, it just means I know that there's movement to move forward, and that's exciting. I take the challenge and see it as an interesting development of my work, rather than me going, oh, I'm an amazing artist and you should buy all my artwork. You can buy my artwork if you want to, but I actually do my artwork for myself, first and foremost. I don't try and chase sales. It's not about sales so much. It's to make a living. Yes, you do need to sell artwork and sell prints and do commissions and things, but it's not always about that itself. It can be just the expression of art is what feeds you as an artist, and developing your artwork takes time. There's no rush. There's no rush to the being a professional level. That happen naturally if that's the direction you want to go into, because as you take yourself and your artwork seriously, and it doesn't matter if it's just a hobby, it's serious because you love it. And I've seen plenty of people who are passionate about golf and take it very seriously, and they are not pro golfers, right? So as an artist, it's the same thing. You can take your interest seriously and enjoy it. Um, so anything that you want to learn, I mean, first of all, joining this is great, and I thank you for being here. And that's not being sycophantic and just going, hi guys, thanks for being here. I actually mean, I really, really do thank people for joining on. Otherwise, you see, over the last 15 weeks it would have been really tough because I really missed the classes. So that's why I've kind of opened it out onto different formats. It might feel very weird moving from Facebook to YouTube because you kind of get cozy in one social media platform. It's very hard to move across the other one. But there are flexibilities within YouTube that is a little bit more difficult with Facebook. And as hopefully as this goes on, we can throw in more stuff. I notice people aren't chatting as much. I don't know whether it's easier for you to chat here. There is a little chat bar to the right hand side which is open, which you can type away at. I know they do work because I've watched plenty of other YouTube videos and they're just streaming full of stuff and chatting with each other as well. So use it if you can. That'd be great. I was also saying about the subscribe bar. Hitting that just means you're going to get notified. If you don't want loads of notifications and you just know it's at 11 o'clock on a Friday, you don't have to press it if you don't want to. But if you want information when I'm putting up other content, it will let you know when that goes up as well. It's like I said in the video of me sharpening a pencil, which sounds completely dull and boring. And but I've seen a couple of them done out there. Say YouTube's a marvelous place for information like that, because once you find one video on the one subject, there's lots and lots of other videos on it, and some give you different parts of information. At the minute I am going to be putting in a shower, and I have learnt how to put in a shower purely from YouTube. But I didn't just watch one video on how to put in a shower, I watched a lot and all the different bits and pieces and stuff. So I'll be getting on with that soon. Art will be my haven from tiling and bits and pieces. So yeah, I didn't just watch one video. I've been watching loads of them, and some of them are really good on one key point. Like I might be able to show you the best way and how to sort of hold a blade and things like that, and then be other ones that do it slightly better. Feedback the information, because if I learn from that, I'll be able to put more work into my artwork as well, and more videos and stuff. So yeah, share the information around. Oh, great, Leslie, thank you. So you'll be part of this. So I really appreciate that. And no, you don't. You won't disturb my flow. It's great. I kind of bounce off an awful lot of interaction. So the more you type, the more we'll all get out of this. So brilliant, great. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. So yeah, it's there for everybody to try out. I am literally chatting and drawing at the same time. So if there is things I'm doing you kind of want to ask a question about, do. It won't stop me. I won't feel frustrated. I want to let people know that that's the reason why we're doing this. So in one way, that's really great you've said that. Thank you. So I'm just looking at the form. Now at the minute her face looks incredibly round here. Too much so. And I think as it comes down this point, I've got it kind of going off in that direction too much. It's a little bit wider than that, and it comes down here and then out that way. So this part of her face has moved slightly. It is in line more with this, so it starts there, comes down that section. That's where the corner of her neckline is. And probably not as round as that. The erasers that I've got, again, just this Tombow eraser, because I'm drawing lightly. I can sculpt and get rid of any lines that I don't want anymore. So some of the bigger lines that I had initially, like the big line that went through there, or the big line that came down here, I can get rid of. Excuse me a second, I'm going to cough and I don't want you to hear it on the microphone. I think I sent one, I hope you got it. Just be kind and use lots of artistic license. It's really so funny. You'll look great. Okay? But yeah, it'd be brilliant. So I think Desiree, Alex, I have got yours, Desiree, as well. Alex and Kathy, I've got 3 so far. Leslie, I know I've got yours. So yeah, if you're interested, it would be great. It'd be great if you could be part of it. So I know initially when people start off, there becomes a fear going, oh, this looks too round, it looks too big, I'm worried about this, that's not right. This is literally just finding the shapes of things at the moment. I can do certain things like, rather than draw details of the glasses, what I can do is put the angle of the glasses on. What I'm trying to find a little bit difficult is because I normally have it here and I draw side by side, and I've got, because I'm kind of talking to the camera, I've got a picture on the screen that you can see on your screen, and I'm kind of moving my head backwards and forwards. I would also suggest having it right in front of you, so the only thing that's moving is your eyes, because you can adjust it quicker. Kat, hello. I just figured out how to do live chat on here. Great. I've been watching but couldn't chat. All right, okay, cool. Well, we learned a new skill. That's great. Is it the fact because you use it on your phone? Could be. Because sometimes when you turn the phone around, you can do live chat on the side of it, or if you've got an iPad. Or I don't know how it would work if you're watching it on TV. That's the only thing. But the upside of it is you can watch it on TV, and you can't do that with Facebook unless you link it in your computer. But I don't know. It's a learning curve for everybody. But there is a brilliant chat bar, and what that'll hopefully help you is when you are looking at other videos like this on YouTube, you'll know how to get onto it. So if anybody else is having a struggle, do you want to tell them how you did it? You can be the teacher for a little bit. So I'm just looking at how, I was talking about angles of her glasses. So I can see from this little anchor point that we had at the back of the hairline here, you know, this bit that came out and goes up that way, it creates like a point here. It does give me a bit of an idea about how that kind of comes down at an angle like that. So I'm going to put a very loose light line in a minute. As I said, because I'm drawing off to the side and going back to my page, I'm going to try and get it up on my pictures. My screen, where did it go? Hopefully my camera roll, Kathy will be there. Now, because I kind of blew this up, it's very bitty on my screen, but the information I want so far is pretty much there, and already I can kind of see that this is much straighter. I can bring this angle out a little bit closer. So something as simple as positioning your reference can really help your artwork, because you're not trying to bounce from one to the other. Oh, you've been using a tablet. Okay, cool. Now notice this little bit of hair follows actually the shape of the forehead going around this way, and it tucks back in there to a point and then comes back out. But I think this point needs to be lower down. Which means I can get rid of that line. I'm looking at the overall shape, and I think where this comes out there, I can also add lines in, because we've got a kind of an approximation of that angle. I can give little suggestions of the size of the glasses, but it just helps me find the shape. So I'm looking at, say, I don't know if you can see that on the screen. Let's see if we can pop that around a little bit and flick you back to the other camera. One-to-one camera. Yeah. So I think you can see that on the screen there. I'm looking at this part of the glasses and that part of the head, the hairline going up. So that part of the hairline going up and that side of the glasses coming down. Can you see how they make that kind of a triangle without a base, basically? And that's the shape I'm going to concentrate on as I'm drawing. I'm not going to try and draw glasses. I'm not trying to draw a hairline. I'm literally going to try and put those two shapes in, that they kind of make a similar triangle. Once I get that negative space in, it becomes a good anchor point to kind of then measure things else from it, so I can get spaces right. Can't remember. You're doing YouTube, and on the 3 dots menu on the top right, choose desktop, and then a live chat will pop up. Hope that makes sense. Yeah. So on your screens, everybody at home, wherever you are in YouTube world, there's like 3 little vertical dots. Bump, bump, bump. Click that, and it should pop up. So as you click it on the right hand side, it'll say pop out chat. Click on pop out chat and the chat bar should open and you should be able to start typing. Hopefully that'll work for your devices. I don't know if that's what you did for your tablet or your I don't know how it works on phones. I think it's pretty much the same thing on the phone as well. You turn your phone around to sort of portrait, maybe that'll work it that way. Don't know, we'll see. I'm sure people will feedback and tell you that can't use it. They'll let me know in some way. So yeah, I've got that kind of shape now happening. I'm not going to draw this line all the way down, obviously our glasses aren't that far, but what I can do is give an indication where the bottom of her glasses comes. Now when I look across to a hairline, this angle of her hair coming down comes down to about, I'd say about there, and then there's another little section of hair just underneath it, like that. But these glasses actually line up on an angle with that part of the hair as they come down, and it might seem like, oh, this is all about angles. I don't think I'm of like degrees, like you're using a protractor. Just think, if that's there and that goes off in that direction, it goes along this way. And one of the simple ways of doing this, if you've got it, I normally suggest people print things off. You can actually use your pencil to put it on your reference, like that, and then you can just move it, because you're not adjusting the angle, over to your drawing, like that, and draw a line for the angle from your drawing. So you're not actually moving it. It takes a little bit of practice not to kind of like move it like that as you're doing it. Keep the angle. Oops, just lost her. Bring her back. Yeah, we'll keep the angle. Move it across to our drawing and put it in there. And that gives me the angle of the bottom of her glasses. And what that should line up with is that part there. And, believe it or not, it does. So I now know where the bottom of the glasses are. This isn't a feature, I'm just going to do that so I can build in some of these other shapes. I'm looking at now, as this face curves around to the part of her cheek here, the bottom of her chin, obviously going off in this direction, the centre of her face is about there. I say about because I might move it a little bit, might adjust. But there's a line here for this side of the face which comes up, and it comes up about halfway. So this is the centre point of her chin, and this is the point here where it goes up that way. Halfway is this kind of shape here, and it goes from, let me go bigger again. It goes from the base to the corner of the mouth, and again that creates almost like a little triangle shape. It doesn't go up straight, it goes off at an angle, so I could take, like we used for the base of the glasses, and transferring that across. I can use the vertical line that goes off that way. It's not vertical as in straight up and down, it's slightly angled, slightly leaning over. I can move that across, and it kind of goes off that direction. So that's one way of laying down lines, but you can also use a plumb line. So you could use a piece of string that went right down the center of your picture, and it will help you know that if I drew a line down the center of my drawing, everything should be put to one side of it and everything should be to another side of it, and it just helps you break it down. Gridding is also another way. I don't tend to use gridding too much because I think sometimes, especially starting off, gridding takes over the drawing. People kind of will rule out a grid very, very quickly, and if they're slightly inaccurate with the drawing out of the grid, it will throw the drawing off, because where each square is slightly different sized, and you may have a different grid drawn over your reference picture, the two grids don't match up, and you'll kind of force them to match up for your picture, and then when you start removing all the lines of the grid, you'll go, oh, that's not the same, but I measured, and then you'll blame yourself, but it's actually the grid spaces. So if you are going to do a grid, what I would say is, see if you can draw a grid out on a computer so it's very uniform, and instead of printing it out on paper, get it printed out on a clear transparent page, and use that to overlay your drawing and your reference, so you get two of them done, because you can move the drawing out of the way. You're not having to redraw over your page. It also means you're not going to have to then rub it out. Often people, again, it's an issue, we're just starting out doing it, and you will learn very quickly, but if you draw a grid out on your drawing and you draw it in too heavy, as you go to rub it out, you've got like a ghostly image of a grid, and I see it an awful lot in artworks where the grid is still there, and I don't want to look at a grid, I want to look at your artwork, and you're almost like showing me your process and not your artwork. Showing your process sometimes can be interesting if it's a conceptual thing that you really want to show and showcase, but if it's something to get you to the stage of knowing where everything is and it's still there in the drawing at the end, it can look a bit odd. So that's why some of the issues people have with gridding. Gridding isn't bad, it's just that all I'm doing basically is using A1 grid square and using the same process as you draw each grid. I'm using it to draw the entire lot, A1 picture. I'm using that site size kind of issue where I have my picture here, or my picture there, and I'm using my eyes to look at and refine each individual element of the drawing. I'm going to bring this cheek in a little bit as I just looked at that, because I just noticed how it lined up with the edge of her hair here. So as I do this, I can start to refine some of these edges, and already it starts to, narrow features in, and starts to have more representational shape of what we're drawing. I can map in things that are not actually on the face but are still important, so getting proportions of the shoulders correct is interesting, because if you get them too sort of shallow, or too rounded, or not looking like they're part of the body, it can throw off a beautiful portrait. It doesn't matter how much work you've done on the face. If the proportion of the shoulders are really, really narrow, it will always make the head look too big, or if the shoulders are too wide, it will make the head look too small. So they have to be in balance. Even the suggested marks of things need to kind of be in proportion with the thing that you're drawing. And people get a bit kind of scared of the word proportion a little bit because of their idea of having to know exactly where everything is. I'm not talking about proportions of the face, I'm talking about proportions of your reference. So where's the top, where's the bottom, where's the sides, what is in the middle of that page, the proportions that way, or scale if you like. And I think the camera's just clicked off because I just heard it. I'm actually drawing this triangle type shape here because I can see it in my reference. Switch this camera back on. Excuse my face blocking the camera for a second. I must figure out, but probably a YouTube video on this as well, on how to sort out your camera switching off. It's just an old Canon camera, using some software to try and screen grab it, and it keeps just switching off, which is really frustrating. Yeah, go back on Streamlabs and click on that. So I have to explain things verbally to myself, so I do them. I do talk to myself a lot in the studio, but it's not because I'm mad, it's because sometimes when you say things out loud it becomes a reality rather than just a thought. So saying, okay, pick your pencil up and do some drawing, you go, okay. You pick your pencil up and do some drawing. Where's you going to go? I'll pick some drawing. Oh, I could do that. And you can procrastinate that way. So I verbalise an awful lot what I'm doing. So I'm not the only one. I know I'm not nuts. I don't believe it. So we've got 10 people watching. Who else is in the room? I know we've got Alison and Desiree and Angela and Leslie and Kat. And Alison, you're watching with Michael still. Let us know who you are if you haven't been mentioned. Join the chat if you can. Or if you can't, maybe send us a message later if you want to on Facebook. Give me some feedback. Let me know what type of things you want. As I said, if anybody's just joined, you can watch the video. I'm going to do an edit version of this, so you can probably cut out my ums and ahs and all my mucking around with settings on YouTube to get this to work this morning, so it'll be a little bit easier to watch. I'm going to create a little edited version of it and put it out again, so like something you can refer back to. Just looking at how that neckline, can you see how that neckline works? Don't know if you can see that on there. If I zoom that in a little bit, maybe. Does that help? Hope so. This is kind of more interactive. If there are things that I'm doing on screen which are frustrating and you need kind of more clarity on things, do let me know. I'm not an oracle. If I could read your mind, I would, and I knew it was coming in the future, I would have lottery numbers. I've just looked at that there's a little highlight, I don't know if you see it, on the face, just underneath the cheek. A little tiny triangular highlight, just in this area. But it's great because it's right in the centre of her glasses, and it's just off to the left hand side of her nostril, so it lets me know where the top of her nostril is. And this is how I will allow the picture and the mark making to start to inform me where things are. So when we were mentioning proportions earlier on, it's proportions of the picture that you're drawing, not general proportions of a face. General proportions of a face work in kind of exercises if you're drawing somebody straight on, generic face or profile that way. But the human face, rather than a generic one or a stylized one, has so much individual differences to it, just small differences, and that's what really makes portraiture interesting. Now, why are our faces all completely different? There's subtleties in skin texture and tone, how it reflects light. You know, if you've got particularly oily skin, it'll create a lovely sheen. If you've got very dry skin, it's more absorbent and more matte. It'll take shadows differently. All of those little kind of nuances can really build character, but are about the individual. So they won't be the same. You can use some similar approaches, which is basically what we're doing here. We're breaking the drawing down. But if you stick to the ideal form of proportions, you'll make everybody's eyes perfectly in the middle of their head, between there and there. In general, that's right, but occasionally somebody's eye might be slightly different, proportions wise, proportions of the head. But if you go with the assumption that the eyes are always in the middle, even if they're looking at you like this, hopefully my camera will come back into focus. For some reason it's gone a bit foggy. Come on, there we are. If my head's like back a little bit like this, but you see it as that, you will put my eyes in the middle and it won't look quite right. If I do that, the light coming through the window and bouncing off my glasses makes me like I've got blue eyes, crazy eyes. But if I look straight onto the camera, so the slight differences in angles can throw off your assumption of proportions. If I could say it, sounded like I had a speech impediment about getting the word P out. Maybe a time for a sip of coffee. Kat, these sessions on Saturday mornings have been brilliant. I appreciate that, thank you. Kat, I've been enjoying them as well. They're a little guide in my week to let me know I'm doing something, to kind of get me organised to do other stuff around it, and it's kind of then spills out into me wanting to do more stuff as well. I've done loads of artwork over COVID because I think personally these drawing sessions have helped me kind of get inspired to do more. It's encouraged me to go off and do more stuff. In the live classes that we have in the Arts Centre here in Northern Ireland, a town called Newton Arts, we have an art centre that I teach classes at. For those who've got no idea what the Arts Centre is, when I'm in the class I don't draw that much because I want to see you draw, and I go around your drawings and I help you find the solutions to your drawings. So it's been a real pleasure for me to actually get on with drawing and teaching at the same time. I just realised when I'm doing demos in the class, everybody stops drawing, and therefore it kind of defeats the purpose. I want you to draw. I will do demos occasionally in class, but your experience for your learning and your drawing means I can help you with that, if that makes sense. So likewise, I'm asking people to send in pictures. If you're having problems with drawing, or you just want some feedback, you can send me a picture of that on Messenger on Facebook as well, and I can give you some feedback on that. I had a chat with Ben last week, and I've had a chat with Kathy before about this, so it's really good to root into kind of being very one-to-one tutorialship with artwork. And I'll try and do that with everybody who wants that kind of feedback. Or you talk out loud all the time. I forget not to. We do it when people are around. Yeah, it's something that I think everybody does. Not everybody admits to it. Lee and Kat, you're on my telly. YouTube out on the fire stick. Yeah, brilliant, isn't it? Sit back, relax on the sofa. Be a lot easier. Got a door that's closing, but I think it was Andrew's hiding the cats from me. So we've got Inky coming next week. So excited. I've also got I've got some good news about. Again, there's no specific dates for the live drawing class at the Arts Centre yet, but there's conversations going on about how they can do that. So hopefully soon information will start to flow about when and where they're going to do it and how they're going to do it. Obviously there might be some restrictions in place. Again, I don't know what those are yet, but it's good to know that some of normality is happening, and we're getting back to the idea of having our drawing classes back. It's not to say that these will stop, they won't. They might change time, because I normally teach from 10 to 12. I can't do this at 11 o'clock. So I might change the time on a Saturday. So I might go from a live drawing class in the Arts Centre that I would do from 10 to 12 come back here and start this at 1 o'clock. But I've realised, because this goes around the world and everybody's at different time zones, being sort of at a specific time in the morning is relevant. Because for somebody it's like 3 o'clock in the morning somewhere in the world. It's like, isn't that a quote for like martini time sometime in the world, something like that. So I think, yeah, I'm definitely going to continue these, because I think it's benefited people who are not necessarily in Northern Ireland where we live, and reaching out to people is a really good key way to find out how artwork is being viewed from different countries as well, and for different reasons, and for different practices and different takes on what art practice means to different people. All of that is really interesting to me as an artist, and I'm always constantly trying to learn how people see things, because that helps me as an artist when I'm trying to communicate things, how that actually works as well. You know, how does a drawing that I might culturally think works for one nation, how does it actually work in other nations? You know, is it a different concept or construct to an idea about something? So, for example, the Manimal drawings that I'm doing, if I use an animal in a certain way, because my perception of how that animal is seen, and then how it's viewed from a different culture, from a different part of the planet, might see it completely differently. I think that's always interesting to kind of feed in to your artwork as well. There's also commonality where you wouldn't think, and how reaching your artwork can go. So as you get brave and you start showing your artwork online and you start talking to more people, there is a connectedness where you start to realize there are people who are learning at a similar rate to you, have a similar experience to you. You can share your knowledge with them. Learning from your peers is one of the most vital things, I think, to anybody's progress in a subject, because everybody's in the same boat and everybody learns at different rate, we've mentioned before. But it's been one of the key things behind my art education, is learning from other artists. I specialised in fine craft design and I specialised in ceramics. We were encouraged to draw an awful lot in the making of something, but I wasn't formally taught how to draw things in a formal setting of. Well, we went to Art Foundation and did my art A-level and O-level back in the day. So we were taught how to do certain tasks, some of the very, very basics of art, but the refinement and development of art when it came to the art college was much more about the development of drawing for a thing, which was the ceramic side of it. And so I don't think formal art training will take you so far, but your continuation with your artwork can be from learning from your peers, from learning from doing from it, and that should work hand in hand with education. And because it's one of the things you go to after education stops. When you come out of university, there is no tutor behind you to guide you. You have to be more self-reliant. So if you've developed those skills in communicating and sharing artwork, it becomes a lot easier. You got an email to fill in this. You got an email from the Art Centre about filling in the survey on classes we would like. What would be willing to attend? You would. Good. I said yes as well. I got the same survey, and I said, yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to get back to drawing the art classes, doing the drawing classes again. So yeah, fingers crossed. As long as they can facilitate them safely, which I'm sure they will, that'll be one of the highest priorities. They'll be happening. Maybe not next week or the week after, but they are at least in the process of getting them back on track again. So that's some good news. How do you do a portrait when you do not really like subject matter? I was asked to do a chinchilla. How do you say that? I'm slightly dyslexic, so when I see words I don't normally say or if I know how to pronounce, I have to say that they are not my favourite dog, and I really struggle. Again, sometimes you do get asked to do commissioned to do works, and it may not be your thing, but I always try and find the root of interest in it. I always try and bend the commission around to just something I can find interest that I can invest in. So rather than liking or not liking a breed of dog, you can break it down into, you might like drawing the texture of fur, how the texture of fur works, because how that texture of fur works on, I'm going to call it a chinchilla. I've got that. How? If you're laughing your socks off my terrible pronunciation of a word I can't read properly, I'm glad I'm making you laugh. I think it makes me laugh as well. But I think it's chinchilla. Hawaii? How? My phone was Hawaii phone ages ago. Got a different one now. When I first got it, people say, "What phone have you got?" And I couldn't tell them. I just had to show it to them. That's my issues, not anybody else's. So yeah, if it's an animal or a shape or sorry, not a shape, a subject matter which you're not comfortable with, or you like, say for example, I didn't like cats. I do love them, but say I didn't like cats, I wouldn't go, "Oh God, not a cat again." I'd go, "Okay, what context is this cat in? What shapes am I looking at? What textures am I looking at?" Because they're all different. You put the same person in a different lighting situation, they look different. You put them in different clothes and different postures, they can appear, their appearance is different. So you can control that element of it. If it's done normally, somebody says, "I've got a picture of an animal, of my dog. Can you do a drawing of it?" And you go, "Yeah, I can do a drawing of it, but how good is the picture?" Sometimes I find it's not necessarily about the thing that I don't like, it's the quality of information I've got is not enough, because they want a very lifelike representational image of their dog, and what they hand me is a blurry photograph from the 1970s of a dog that I had when they were 5, and it's taken when it was a dark day, and it's a black dog and it's lying on a brown blanket, and it's just a smudge, and you kind of go in, "I've got no idea what your dog looks like from that picture." I can do a replication of the imagery that you've given me, but I don't know what your dog looked like. You can kind of guess what, if say for example it was a specific breed, like I'm going to say Labrador, a lot easier. If it's, say for example, a breed like Labrador, but then you go around and have a look at lots of Labrador faces and they're all slightly different, and they will only remember their dog's face. And if you get it wrong, they're going to be upset. So sometimes it's kind of balancing those kind of things, but that's all communication. I have in the past, if there's something that I just wasn't my cup of tea and I wasn't comfortable doing it, I normally pass it on to another artist. I know plenty of artists out there who do good, really good animal portraiture. Not to say I don't do animal portraiture, but I might be swamped with other stuff and I just don't have time to do it, or sometimes the price point that they want to purchase the artwork for isn't worth my time, and that's not necessarily arrogant, but as you build up your art practice, the value in your work develops, and what you can't do is chop and change your price structure just to suit what people want to spend on artwork, because otherwise people will spend £1, and are you going to spend a week creating an artwork for £1? And because if you're a business, you can't afford to do that. So but there are maybe people out there starting off and go, "Well, I just want the experience and I want to get a little bit of money for it," and they're quite happy. And it helps them develop their confidence in going through the commission process, because they've never had one before, and then for that experience they then feel that they can then say, "Yes, I've done commission work before and this is the format." So if you're not ever happy with doing something and you don't want to do it, don't do it. Pass it on to somebody else. You can be polite. I think I always say to people, "Look, Chihuahua, try that." "Yeah, is that how it's spelt though?" You see, to me, I always have this conversation with Andrea that I spell things like I say them, and she thinks I'm quite punk in my spelling. I just, and it's not correct, but it is right because of how you spelled it. Chihuahua. I thought it was a Chihuahua, but I didn't realise it was spelled Chihuahua. I'm sure that's got in, I think it's Spanish. I'm sure there's a translation into what that actually means. Or is it Portuguese? I don't know. I could be wrong. I'm using too much. Not enough drawing. Lovely sign just to tell me my battery's now running out on my iPad. I swear, honestly, I'm doomed with technology some days. Excuse me as I disappear off the floor. But on others it works sweet, and it kind of took me back when we first started doing this, and I just had the phone in front of my face and that was it. And I think sometimes that was really, really easy and simple. But hopefully you're getting a little bit more content out of this. I'm just putting in a couple of extended lines there. I was noticing how the line from her nose and this line, the curve of her cheek here, kind of line up in one line, but there are slightly kinked. It kind of slightly bends out. So rather than a curve, I'm going to put two angles in, and I'll bring this one down to that point, and then that one out there. It's just a guide at this point. Again, that's not the best resolution for that, possibly due to the light. It's got a bit cloudy this morning. I'm also going to look at this kind of triangular shape. The actual overall shape of her nose is quite triangular in this picture. Not to say that Kathy has a triangular nose. I'm just going to look at the basic overall shape. And the angle of it as well. The angle of what they call, this is part of the underneath the nose to the top of the lip is called the philtrum. So the base of the nose follows the line of the angle of the mouth, and the point of the chin is here. So we start to get this kind of line appearing that comes up through the head. It's not a million miles off the one we initially put in, but it's slightly to the right of it. So I'm going to just refine those marks. Maybe lighten that one because it's a little bit heavy. But you can start to see how the forms, the shapes of the things start to build up what it actually looks like. Lee, thanks. My son is dyslexic as well, and yeah, it's spelled that way. I haven't been I think I'm borderline, but I've realised with it has made me very creative thinking wise, because when it came down to writing things, rather than avoid writing, I had to think of another word that I knew. So my vocabulary grew, and how I use language grew. I didn't do particular. I did all right. I got my O levels with English, but what I found was because of the way I write or inform is very much how I talk. So I talk in a stream or a constant, and my sentences are like paragraphs, right? And Andrew was saying to me, because she's got 2 degrees in English, right? She's got a BA and she's got a master's in English. And she goes, you never put punctuation in. And I always say, look, when it comes to punctuation, I shouldn't be dictating to people when they take a pause to take a breath. They can do that themselves. She goes, yeah, but the content of what you're saying doesn't get across because you want them to intellectually pause. So I'm trying. I feel almost rebellious against the point of putting in punctuation. That's got nothing to do with dyslexia. I put a full stop at the end and a capital at the beginning, and the rest, I think, you as you invest in somebody's, the way the style they talk or they think, that will come out in the text. That's just my take on it. I'm realizing because of communication on the internet and stuff, occasionally you have to put in commas and semicolons and stuff like that. Wasn't so great when you were doing it for GCSE or O level or A level. you kind of have to follow the rules. But yeah, I'm kind of picking things up as I go along, still with the written word. But it's got easier in lots of ways because, again, being a more creative in the way you think and the way you have to get around the solution or the issue or the problem, you start to find an alternative route to it. Art is very much like that. As you draw something, how are you going to do it? What's the best way? What problem? It's constant problem solving, and it's like it's a visual puzzle that you're in control of, that you've got the answers to, but you just don't know yet. That type of way of looking at it. So as I was pontificating, again, look how verbose am I? As I was chatting, I'm just building in that shape. I'm not looking at glasses. I'm not drawing glasses. I'm drawing the shape first, because as the drawing develops, I can refine the shapes and textures of things to make them look like a pair of glasses. When we were doing Sky Portrait Artist of the Week, people started moaning, going, "Oh no, not another beard! Oh no, not another pair of glasses! And oh no, not hair!" It's going, at some stage, going, "Oh no, not a head!" You know, portraiture is made up of all different types of stuff. I don't wear glasses all the time. Sometimes I take them off. But you've got to be adaptable. You can't have. I suppose you can, if it's your artistic vision, to have everything one way, which is fine if that's what you want to express creatively. But I think as you're developing as an artist, expose yourself to lots of different elements that you can draw from that will push you to the point of not knowing how to do it. As artists, professional artists, constantly trying to push ourselves to find where the limits are of our experience or our technical expertise, because we'll push them to the point of breaking. When they do, we can kind of review it and go, okay, how did that not work? What went wrong? How can I improve that? What else can I do? And we use that as a jumping off point to develop the work even further. So that's how we've kind of progressed. You just don't, there's no sort of A, B, C, D, F grading system with artists, where as soon as you hit A, that's it. That doesn't exist. We're all doing exactly the same thing that you're doing right now. Picking up information, trying it out, failing at it, trying again, failing at it, trying again, improving on it, knowing that you've learned something, not knowing what that is, trying it again, got a little bit better. We're all doing that. We're all in exactly the same boat. So I don't think there's any hierarchy in artists. I just see the ones that are inspiring to me in what they do. And sometimes it can be, I don't necessarily like the artwork that they do, but I really appreciate the technical skill. And sometimes I can really love a piece of artwork, but not necessarily like the technique and the way it's done. I like the conceptual idea or the feeling that it evokes, and I can cherry pick out of different artists, different elements of their artistry that are relevant to me, and how I would then like to be as an artist myself. And through practice, that's when you start to develop your own little voice. I think if you start getting sucked into doing styles too soon, let's say you can't experiment and play with them, do that. But I mean, if you saying, no, this is the only way I do it, and you've only been drawing for a couple of years, I think you may find yourself at a cul-de-sac very soon, where you kind of get a bit bored with it and you don't know what to do next. And it can be very, very frustrating. You know, we hit that kind of like, oh, I don't know what to do, and I haven't drawn for ages, but I want to draw because I draw like this, and I don't want to draw like that anymore. I can't change it. You know, people trap themselves into that belief. I'll try and stay open, flexible. I mean, I've got manual drawings, portrait paintings. I've got, if I just scan up there, I'll scan out a second and scroll up, you'll see a large painting on the wall. That's for an exhibition that I want to do in the future. It's one of about 27 portraits. That's one of the mammalian ones. There's one hiding behind the PC, if I can spin it around. There's another one just hiding behind there. That's half done. I've got another one on the easel. There's lots of different elements to my art practice, because occasionally you do get frustrated with things, or they take you to a kind of pausing point where you kind of played with it enough where you need to break away from it. But rather than doing nothing, I have other things to go to. And it can be the same with your drawings as well. So if you're drawing and you're just hitting so that camera's gone off again. So if you're drawing and you're having a frustration with a drawing, rather than trying to beat yourself up with it, you can take a break from it. You can go off and try another one, have another one to go to, have 2 or 3 drawings on a go at the same time, so you can dance between them all. I think it'll really be helpful for oh, my camera's died. Oh dear. Right, give us 2 seconds while I try and sort this one out. I did actually try and get hold. I was very lucky. I got a grant to get some technical equipment, but the grant I asked for was what was reduced. So the camera I wanted to get, I couldn't. So I had to reuse this old camera. I think this is where the problem is, because sometimes the software just goes, "I've had enough," and goes off. So I have to close this program and open up another one. Not YouTube, so that's okay. I'll still be here, but it's just to get the camera back. Let's bear with us 1 second while I do that. This is why I'll be able to edit the videos on YouTube, and when you play them back, I'll be able to cut some of this stuff out, because it's far removed from art chat and art demonstration. So to a lot of people, it'll be we'll call them blooper reels. I mean, I should keep them for a blooper reel. It can be fun. I've watched a couple. I've been watching how to build a computer and how to do showers and stuff, and a couple of the YouTube channels have occasionally this blooper reel going on. And nearly there. Just 2 more seconds and it should be up. Okay. Frustrations of modern technology. There we go. Okay, I'm back. So, get back on with this drawing. So I'll get a good kind of approximation of where things are starting to happen. I'm starting to feel better about certain shapes and things. I can get, there is a muscle or a tendon from the neck that comes down this way on Kathy, and I can see that her neck is there, about there. And that comes up there and around that way. Comes in a little bit. Again, just refine that edge. Take that out. So at this stage I'm just kind of cleaning up some of the marks I've got in the drawing, because I don't want to overly confuse my eyes as I start to kind of plot some of the shadow shapes in. I want to. It is quite blocky and chunky at this point, but that's okay. It's not about having the refined finished portrait at this stage. It is literally just finding the space of where things are, but it can look a bit angular, and the things that will soften it is then looking at shadow shapes within the spaces. Again, it'll still have a certain blockiness to it, but when you're building a shadow shape, for example, if you look at this one underneath the mouth, there's a space just underneath the bottom lip. It comes up here and then down this way. There's a shape of the shadow that creates the shadow and shape of her chin. That way. And it's got a similar tone to it apart from the highlight in the middle. And you can go in, you can shadow or lightly shade, just very flatly, that shadow shape. And as you start to build up the forms of all those shadow shapes, I start to see one that comes out here. There's a little tiny, almost like a dimple. Well, it is a dimple. Almost like it is a dimple. I can put it in scale. There, remember the little white highlight area? I'm going to leave that. There's a section to it, next to it, there. And then this side goes up through the eye, to the corner of the eye. It's halfway kind of through the glasses there. Comes up that way, creates a little highlight, there's a little slither of a highlight just about there. But this is all in tone, so I can then shade all this back in. Again, I'm doing the shading lightly, I'm not trying to get perfect tone. And there's, it kind of comes down that way, not that way. That is darker than this. So it gives you a blocky sculptural effect of making you kind of simplify down what goes from light to dark by blocking in the shadow shapes. There's shadow shapes within the eye orbits as well, where light is catching glasses and things. There's a window that's being reflected in her glasses, and I kind of want to keep it in because it doesn't obscure her eyeballs, but it adds a nice element to it pictorially. Kind of covers this one a little bit, just on the bottom, but it's on the same line as that one, so I can bring that one across. And there's a line here. Let me find the bottom of those glasses. Again, I'm going to use to draw this triangle shape rather than drawing the bottom of the glasses, so I want to get that shape of the triangle right. And that is a little bit of a shadow line there. So this is literally lightly shaded in. You know what I mean. Sometimes when you build a shadow up to the next shadow, you realise that this one's darker, and you can go back in and just darken it again. And that's how you build up the tonality and the change of form. Is that you go over one area, a certain darkness, and then you have to go over another. As you build up the layers, you can start to really sculpt shapes and stuff. This bottom lip is a lot darker, so I'm going to darken that down. Again, I'm not necessarily pressing hard, I'm just putting light layers down. It looks darker, because it's on a white page, and it's a bigger contrast, but it's actually still quite light. Desiree, you've got to go and see you next week. I will see you next week, and thank you for keeping me informed on Facebook. Really appreciate that. Because without you, Desiree, I would think it was all working fine, and it wasn't. I had to re-G it back on. So thanks for that. Yeah, and we'll see you definitely here. I'm going to try this again next week, and thanks for sticking with us. I'm going to carry on drawing for a little bit longer because I was so late this morning, so apologies for that. So I'll probably do sort of another half an hour, 45 minutes if you're happy. If you're not, you don't have to watch, it's okay. But we can build these up. If you do want to go, that's no problem, but if you want to come back to it next week, if you hit the subscribe button, you'll just get a link to it straight away when it goes live. So rather than having to tune into Facebook and follow the link that way, it'll just go bing, the body's going live. You can click that and it should just pop up for you on YouTube. That's the way it works. But yeah, thank you very much, Desiree, appreciate that. and then I'll say keep an eye out for your portrait that's going to happen. So yeah, I've got that shape now with this cheek coming under here. There's a triangle bit there. I look for basic shapes in things, really basic shapes in things, not try to overcomplicate it. But what I can see in a space, and sometimes it can be things of not like necessarily a triangle or a square, it can be sort of ice cream cone shaped. I make a visual reference of the form of something. What is that similar to? Kind of play with that kind of musing, playful game in my head. Like when you look at a cloud and you go, oh, I can see a train or a duck in that cloud shape. Well, I do the same thing with a face as well, because it takes it away from the complexity of a face and breaks it down into a simple form, and that's a lot easier to attain and get to draw than be worried about the complexities of the tonal shift and patterns that go over a cheek and underlake because of the muscle structure underneath the face. That can be overwhelming sometimes. So to break that step and break it down for yourself and take the fear and the worry out of it, if you just go, this is a triangle, I want to make sure I get the triangle shape right though. That's the thing, you want to make sure you get that shape right, because if it's not, it'll throw you out a little bit. So spending your time, just a little bit extra time, planning, making sure that your forms and lines are right, rather than rushing a drawing. If you plan that out well first, it'll solve an awful lot of problems for you later on. It can seem dull, but if you actually make that an enjoyable part of your process, you'll find that your drawings start to improve a lot quicker, because you're not worried about them so much, because you of the fear of, oh, I know this is going to be hard later on when I go to do all the shadows, because I've kind of rushed mapping things out because you wanted to get to the end of it. It's almost like a speed thing. It's the biggest key issue I think most people starting out in art have, is they think they've got to do it quickly to get through it. It's pretty good likeness. I'm pleased with it. Great, cat, great. I just realised your cat, Kathy. How thick am I? It's because you've got a different logo and you're called Cat on YouTube. So yeah. Who said teachers are clever? Nobody. I say I'm literally just sat here having a laugh and enjoying myself. And not that I'm making fun of art, but this is really enjoyable. It's fun, and I think there's an element of learning we've kind of seen as a chore, and I don't know where it came from, because it's not really a chore if you have a love of what you want to do. If you've got a reason to learn, it should be an inspiring thing. But I don't know where. Is it possibly from school that we still got the hang up with learning? But it's such a beneficial thing to help you in lots of different ways, not necessarily just to do tasks at work or to make money from it. It can literally be something that can be beneficial to your mental health, it can be beneficial to your happiness, lots of different things. Sorry, I do confuse people. Yeah, not as much as me. I really confuse people. You're pleased with it, that's the main thing though. You're starting to see elements of it. Now, elements of it might look larger and wider and things, because I maybe have not refined certain edges and things like that. Like the nose looks quite flat and square at the minute because there's no information on it, so it just looks like a triangle. But as you start to break that triangle down into tone, so this side of the nose is shaded, and the top of the nose has actually got a bit of tone to it, up until that point, which is where the tip is, and this side is darker, so I'll do that bit again. there's a element to this. Is almost like a rectangle shape. Which is actually part of your nostril. Not that your nostril's rectangular. What this is, it's got the literal element to describing things. People think, you said my nose was rectangular. I know that you wouldn't take it this way, but who was I listening to? I was listening to Noel Fielding, and when he was doing the Sky Portrait Artist of the Week, he was a sitter, and he started like a little art club up, a Saturday art club that he would do live, and he'd give demonstrations out to, or give ideas about what they're going to do next week. And he is fun. He's kind of an exciting artist in the way he works. Though people know him for his comedy, he's actually, some of his artwork's really, really good. Really like it. But he was saying to them that he has this art club, and he went, "Right, kids, this Saturday we're going to do this." And he said on that Saturday there was just children all over the art class, and he was like, "Where have all the children? Why? I mean, it's great. The children have all been there. They're all enjoying artwork, and that's great. And the parents are doing it too. But why is there a load of kids?" So you put the question out there, and literally people came back and said, "Well, you said kids." And so he said, "Oh, like the British public can be very literal sometimes when they hear things." But he was just going like, "Kids, you crazy cats, guys," and all the rest of it. Like how I would say, "Oh, alright guys, how you doing?" I'm not expecting all of you to be men. It's just a generic term. If it offends anybody, let me know, and I can change the words. You know, that's how kind of communication works. But he just picked up on the fact that it was because he said, "Hey kids," everybody thought, "Oh, you can only bring children. It's not for us. We're not allowed to do it." So, yeah, crazy. So when I say the rectangular part of your nostril, I don't mean you have a rectangular part of your nostril. I mean I can see in this picture, on a subtle shading, there is a rectangular kind of shape. And I'll use that as my descriptive tool to help me guide the shape and inform what's coming next. I can see where there's a darker area here, which is obviously your nostril. I don't want to go too mad and colour it in as dark as it is, because what'll happen if I've got it in the wrong place and I go to rub it out, I've snookered myself, because it'll leave a dark smudge, and I don't want it to be that heavy just yet. I would like the drawings to kind of develop together, so it kind of comes in and out of focus a little bit. I know I may sound like I repeat myself an awful lot, but I found it, especially in the classroom, it's very easy to forget some of the basics, because I'm still doing it. I don't know if it means I'm just not very good at remembering stuff, but I'm finding myself constantly going, "No, you need to slow down. What are you rushing for?" That constant communication of reiterating some of the basics is kind of my process, I think, for myself. It might work for you. You might already get it and understand it straight away, which is great. But I've learned people learn in different ways. So even if we become very good at something, occasionally we can get a little bit blasé. I've done it. You get a little blasé with what you know, and you do actually forget some of the basics. And it's not until you start to make a few kind of structural errors in it that you start to go, "Okay, what's going wrong here? Oh yeah, I'm just not doing some of the basics that I should be doing on a regular basis." So you break it down and you find out what went wrong, and you refine your practice. If anybody's thinking, "Oh, what is that propelling pencil he's using?" I actually got this one from Tesco's shopping centre, because it was a pound. So you can draw with anything. You can buy leads online from different art suppliers for propelling pencils. You just need to make sure it's the same diameter. I think this one is a 0.5 millimeter, so you can see how incredibly small and tiny the top is. If I put my hand in front of that, it should kind of focus in on it. So you can see how fine the point is. But you can get sort of much smaller, finer ones and slightly thicker ones as well. So whenever you're buying the leads, it'll tell you the grade of the pencil and also the size of it as well. As long as you get the same size pencil lead, it should fit any propelling pencil. It'll just slide through. You can get different versions. Hopefully that'll take you back into focus. Good. You can get different versions of graphites and compounds that they use. So kind of you do need to kind of try a few out to see what best suit your style. So Staedtler do them, Pentel do them. I think nearly every pencil manufacturer that has a propelling pencil do a range of graphite pencil leads to go along with them. And some work, to me, some work better than others. But I'm not going to tell you which brands they are because I think it's subjective. It's what feels right for you. You might like to draw on a particular surface where that particular brand of pencil lead really works. I don't know if you have. Do you all go into the art shops? Well, not at the minute, I know. But I'm like a kid in a sweetie shop when I'm in there because I'm always kind of going, I wonder what that does. How do you do this? What's that like? How I'm very sort of inquisitive. If you can hone that kind of inquisitive nature by allowing yourself to ask those questions that you probably stopped yourself from asking in adulthood. Kids are brilliant at just asking you questions because they want to know the answer and there's no fear in it. I think as we grow up, we develop a kind of hesitancy for asking questions because it shows our vulnerability, and we have to be seen, especially when we're at things like work, that we are in control of absolutely everything, so we are kind of seen as a solid person and therefore in kind of very concrete, and that would be wonderful if we were all like that. But I think that's where some of the problems in a work environment can occur, where if you're afraid of asking the questions, you'll kind of patch things up around a thing because you don't know how to do it, and that can long term lead into a problem, or somebody else does the same thing that you've asked them to do and it kind of like a knock-on effect. Rather than just going, how do you do that? Great, I've learned it, great, now I can move on. I think so I think we subconsciously get into that mold. It's not to say it's true in a work environment that you can't ask the questions and be told the answer and learn something, but you don't want to show a vulnerability. And when it comes to learning things like art or doing the subject matter for pure enjoyment, we're still holding on to that reluctance to ask, how do you do that? We always look for that one person in the class to ask all the questions. Kind of sit back and go, they'll ask a question. Go on, ask them how you did that. You always get people asking other people to ask you a question in a classroom. I don't know what that is. So if anything, I'll kind of encourage you to develop your playful nature. Allow that to infuse your artwork. You don't have to be perfect at everything. I'm not. Nobody is. So you're allowed to kind of develop what works for you, what doesn't work for you, by making mistakes and asking questions. If one thing came out of today's lesson was that, I would be a happy man. That comes down there. I'm just looking at some of the elements of the clothing as well. So I'm bopping backwards and forwards an awful lot and around and up and down the picture because I want to make sure I get the form of everything right as well. I'm starting to refine where that line and that edge go, so I can give weight and space to the portrait. Now I don't want to cram it in because I feel like it's not a prison cell. I'm not putting everybody in like a little tiny square box. I want them to feel natural in their own little tiny space. And how that works is by making sure you don't crop things too tight. You can use cropping and compositional tools for different effects. I think we talked about this before in a previous one, that by changing how you place somebody in a space, you can kind of subconsciously inform what they're like. So if in a picture frame that was sort of square on, it had somebody sort of peeking out in a corner like that, you might say they're kind of inquisitive, or they're spying on you, or you could infer a certain thing. But I just want a basic likeness of everybody, because the conceptuals of it is that this is everybody together in COVID. So yeah, that's what that's about. You have to go down your allotment now. See you next time. Yep, thank you very much, Leslie, and thank you for saying hello when you arrived, because it's such a joy to see actually this thing was working. So thanks for coming, I really appreciate it. We will be back here next week at 11 o'clock British, I think it's British summertime, BST. Yeah, because I've been putting BST because I noticed everybody's starting to use it. I don't know if that's different from GMT. Not that was GMT, not G and T. Watch you guys. Yeah, see you next week. Definitely, no problem at all. I'm going to carry on drawing. Quite happy to carry on for a little bit, if you're happy to watch. So, okay, getting everybody into their space, kind of. Do you like the bit of space above your head cap? As I'm going to keep that. Might bring that in a little bit on this side. And that's before I've drawn all the details, but it just helps me kind of balance my view of what your portrait's doing. And that's too wide. That's better. It goes the other way. Yeah. I had this line coming down too low, because it's coming below the angle of the shoulder, which is impossible, and that line is too angular, so I'm going to take that back out there. It then gives space to sort of this curve that's going to start to appear in the top as it comes around. Creates a space and width there. And as it comes around to this point, it's a little bit of a darker line. Again, this is darker than this, so I'm just gonna lightly tone that, just maybe a tone darker. Again, this is not a dark pencil, but tonally you can create a lot of balance with it. And then you can go back over with a high grade pencil and back over it and really develop the darknesses and really lighten the lights, and go back over with, you know, your mono erasers or your pencil, your putty rubbers and things, and play with textures. But basically you need a kind of structure, the architecture of the drawing in which to kind of attach everything to. If you make sure the architecture is right, everything will work. I remember watching a documentary on the guys who did all the computer generation graphics for Shrek, and somebody made a mistake on one of them, and Shrek came out as this big fluffy ball, but he was Shrek shaped, so he still looked like Shrek, even though there was no detail to him. He was just this kind of fluffy ball moving around. He moved like Shrek and he was shaped like Shrek, but his texture was completely different. That to me is interesting, because it's not necessarily the details that tell you what things are, it's the forms, and the shapes and the structure of it. We can then apply different techniques and approaches, so we can have different genres of artwork to that. So you could want to go into hyperrealism, you could find out every little hair of an eyelash and put those in, That would be awesome if you wanted to go that level. If it's more gestural and you want to get a simplified image of that, you might go into the Impressionism side. Our representationalism side is so varied in what they want you to concentrate on visually. If it's cubist, you can then start to play with the structure and form and textures and put them around in different places and for different reasons to inform a certain thing. You can play with colours, that'll work really well. You can play with the quality of line. Quality of line is something that I haven't been really talking about much, but it's more to do with as you lay a mark down on a page, it doesn't have to be the same line all over. Some lines could be very light and delicate, and then some lines are thick and heavy, and the thick and heavy ones might inform a texture or a boundary, and the light and delicate one might show something soft and diffused. So it's how you can build up those qualities of all those different things, and there is no one answer to it. There's lots of different elements which you can add and subtract to suit your own tastes, because it's your artwork. There isn't just one way to do everything. There is no one art book that will teach you to do everything. There is no one art tutor to teach you everything. You're the person that can inform those choices, but if you do them with a certain awareness, you're in control of them. If they happen to you by accident sometimes, you can still be aware of them and use them. But if things are happening to you and you've got no idea what's happening, and it's just you do this and you get a face and you kind of like it, but you don't know why you like it, and you don't know how you did it, and you don't know if you're going to do it again, or a bit of pressure because you've been asked to do it again, and you don't know if you can do it again. You can get rid of that fear just by learning some of the basics first and kind of practice and try it out. And it's okay to fail and muck it up, because I do it and everybody does it, and then you try again. Just learn from it. Try again. Go through the same process of trying it out. If you find yourself, here's a question I put out to you: are you finding yourself, when you're doing a drawing, creating the same mistakes over and over and over and over again? Camera's just gone off. I think for a lot of people that is the case, because they're not too sure how to analyze what went wrong, or when they find out the answers to what went wrong, how to rectify it. And I think if you get stuck, that's where you can use somebody like me, or a tutor, or even if a good pair of eyes in who are around you, like a good friend or somebody in your household, that could can give you good objective advice. When we're looking for feedback, I always say, look, if you're going to get feedback from anybody, just be ready for it. If you're asking for feedback, you've got to accept it. You don't necessarily have to agree with it all. Somebody's point of view might be very specific about, very focused on a particular thing, and that might not be your focus or a main area of artwork that you really concentrate about. You can still take it in, but put it through your own artistic filter. If people are just being mean, it's water for ducks back. It doesn't mean anything, and then you stop asking them. Nobody should be just mean to you about your artwork at all, ever. If you are finding people are doing that, don't ask them, don't show them. They're not worth it. They're not worth showing your artwork to. You might saying they might be worth being in your life for other reasons. But I mean, if you're asking for advice on your artwork and it's coming across a bit that's not helpful, don't ask. If you're getting advice from somebody and it's constructive and it's upsetting you, it may be their delivery and how they're passing it to you. It might not be what they're saying is wrong, but how they're actually informing you might not be suiting you personally. You might hear the same thing said to you by somebody else to you in a slightly more pleasing manner, which makes you understand and go, yeah, I can accept that. Do you see what I mean? So when you're asking for advice, ask it from a few people, so you get a range of different inputs. If you're completely lost and you need that kind of input, or talk to your peers who are also in the same boat as you, because they'll understand the learning process and they may have gone through the same process or issues that you're going through in your drawing. Or you can, if you build up a trust, you can ask your art tutor as well. Ask me here if you feel comfortable enough. I will always intentionally try and give constructive advice and try and be helpful. If at any time I explain anything and it's upsetting to you, let me know, because I can take that on board and I can adapt the way I teach things to different people with different routes. And this is more generic because it's the internet. But if it's personal about your artwork and how you want to learn something, I can adapt and change it specifically more to you and tell the advice to you. Because I realise that everybody learns in different ways and at different stages take on board information differently. I can remember back, as I said, I had a conversation with one of my tutors in college, and had a big long conversation about drawing a door handle and the quality of line on a door handle. And he kept saying to me, "So what is this?" and pointing at this part of the door. I'm going, "It's a door handle." He goes, "Yeah, but what is this?" And this question went on for ages, and I was going, "I don't know, it's a door. It's a door in a room. It's a door handle in a room." He's going, no, but what is it? What is it? And what he was trying to get at was, it was the darkness, how one plane meets another plane, and the light, how one plane meets another plane creates an edge, and that edge appears to be a line, but it's not a line, it's a shadow. And the thinness of that shadow, or depth or darkness of that shadow, depends on the condition of the room and all that. It was all of that. But he was wanting me to search out that aspect of my understanding, and I didn't have it. It wasn't his failing as a teacher, it was just my lack of knowledge. But I think he was consistently going down the same route, I'd lost it. I got far away from the point he was trying to make. So I've learned that I adopt different approaches to different subject matters for different things and for different reasons. Sometimes that information can sound contradictory. I know it does, because even as I say it, teach it sometimes, I know it sounds contradictory, and also when I've learnt it, it sounded contradictory. But if you allow yourself to kind of go with the flow of it and trust it and see, trying it out, it's almost that experimental stage where people think drawing things in realism, there's no experiment to it, it's very sort of copying. There's actually quite a lot of experimentation in it, playfulness, where you start to see the delicate nature between one shape and another shape, and a line and a flow and all of these things, which you then can expand upon. So I hope that makes sense. If I ever ramble and it doesn't make sense, you need to kind of type and let me know. So yeah, let's just follow somebody else put a comment on there. Carry on drawing. So there's an awful lot of chat in art chat, and sometimes not enough drawing in the demo. I'm just going to darken this down a wee tad, because I think that line kind of comes down to about there, then broadens out. I can use the shading on that line because where it was quite angular, it's diffused. There's a line that comes down there which is really subtle. You might not even see that on the page. You might even see that on the drawing. You might do, I'm not sure. Try and zoom in a little bit more. It's going to get quite grainy for zooming it any further, so I'm just talking about the quality of the drawing on there. Let's see, hopefully that's okay. I'm going to kind of map in it's the under the bottom eyelid, basically, the shadow on the bottom eyelid, which comes straight across. What's interesting is it follows the gesture of the head. Because the head is angled, you naturally assume that the glasses follow the shape, and it doesn't, because the glasses are sat off the face or on the face. They don't follow the same axis of the eyes, because the eyes are going around and the glasses are generally straight. Do you see what I mean? So if you think about your head, if I can draw it, let's zoom out a bit. spin this around. Just do a quick demo here. I'll draw this slightly because I need to use this space. But if your head is round like that, as a cross section, so if that's the back of your head, going up the top part of your skull, kind of coming down to where your eyes are, and then your nose, and then lips, mouth, chin, comes up that way. Can you see that okay? No, maybe not. There. I don't want to draw it too dark because it's on the drawing surface, but there. Sometimes the camera picks up my pencil rather than the paper. So if we took the top of somebody's head off, sounds horrific, but it creates this cross section. If we were to draw the glasses on somebody's face, so this is the nose that sits out here, and they would sit straight like that. The eyes, however, are sat back in the head and go around the curve-shaped part of the head. So when you're looking at something, you can assume that the eyes are in the middle of the glasses, but the glasses are actually straight. They're straight across that way, and the eyes are curved around. And because we've got them at an angle, they'll appear that the angle of the eyes changes as opposed to the angle of the glasses. It's not that they're sitting like that. It's that the glasses are straight and we're looking up from an angle, and the eyes actually themselves are almost horizontal. So if we did a horizontal line there, even just putting that horizontal line in, you can see how they don't follow the angle of the glasses. I'll zoom out because I've just drawn that in. I realise I hadn't changed that here. So almost did like a little beep or a siren to go, no, you've gone off focus. You're not on screen. That's where you get producers and things like the big setups on YouTube. Have guys kind of sat outside doing a chat. They've got guys doing the lighting and camera work. It's a whole big kind of production thing. But you almost like, I don't know, need an app to go, that's out of focus. Meep. I can change it back in. So yeah, what I was saying there was the eyes from the reference are almost, they're slightly angled, not much, slightly angled. They don't quite follow the axis of the glasses because of that. So if you visually check something, see that eye in that space on that head at that particular time from that particular angle. You're just looking at the image. Break that down. It takes a little bit of practice to disengage with what you think you know. You kind of have to leave out assumptions and literally draw what we've heard that an awful lot. Draw what you see, but then people go, well, what is that? I don't know how to draw what I see, and that's the problem. It's a case of if you trust your eye to your hand, and it sounds weird, but disengage your brain, because your brain will try to infuse certain things. You need a certain clarity and awareness. That's why occasionally you take a break from a drawing, you see it afresh, and you can come back and go, oh, that needs to move, and you can just make a quick adjustment, and it pushes you further on in the picture. There's lots of merit about watching people do a drawing from start to finish all the way through. I've learnt a lot through watching videos like that, but I think to put that much pressure on yourself starting out is a lot of pressure, because these guys are like professional artists who do a sitting and do a drawing and have it finished. You go, wow, that's amazing. That's a lot of practice which you're not seeing behind the lines, and a lot of focus. You're developing your skills, so you're developing your focus, you're developing your vision, you're developing your drawing skills, you're developing how you see and how you look on things. So do take that into account. So you're learning an awful lot, so stop pressurizing yourself when you're not quite achieving everything in one picture. and not achieving it fast enough. Speed will come with practice, but it's not about speed, it's about your artwork first and foremost. I hope that makes sense. How did this work for you today? Did you enjoy YouTube? I was thinking, look, I still might do a YouTube stream and continue it going. It may be a case of that I do both Facebook and YouTube, and I'll carry on doing Twitch as well, because I just find it kind of a pleasurable experience drawing and communicating at the same time. It's becoming like a nice habit to have, and a functional, productive habit because I'm making more artwork. But yeah, I'll sort of continue this on. I might continue this on through the week, and then we'll start a new portrait next week. Let me know what you think. If there's anything specifically you want me to cover, you can let me know. There's a discussion section on the page, which you can jot down what you think on your answers and stuff, because I will review it. I get notifications from that. If you want to follow up what's happening, you can press subscribe, and you'll get notifications of more videos like this, more content, and yeah, we can develop it that way. Okay, I think after another slurp of coffee, we'll give it a couple of minutes if everybody wants to answer any questions or anything, but we'll call it a day for today. Again, apologies for the beginning. It was my fault. It was YouTube functions fine if you know how to use it, because it's just me, right? Because I'm learning how to do it. So if I can make mistakes, yeah, everybody else can. As I say, when I've been watching these live broadcasts, nearly everybody talks about some sort of technical issue, whether it be the broadband speed rate drops out, or it gets very sticky, or the image from the computer is not great, or camera switches off, which happens an awful lot. Yeah, I'll try and figure out a more pleasing way not to get around all these kind of issues and stuff. Yeah, hope you enjoyed it. You had a good session. Have a great weekend. Yeah, you too. And yeah, I'll probably get this finished during the week, so you'll get to see it next week. And so I've got Alex and Desiree, so she sent in their picture as well. Leslie, did you see something? One in? So yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much again for joining, and I'll see you again soon. See you next Saturday for definite. 11 o'clock here on YouTube. You're going to think you'll be able to watch it over on Facebook as well at the same time. Guys, take care. Been good fun. Thanks very much. Angela,